nothing more da- There's nothing more dangerous than a police department that's made up its mind because they are totally excluding anything that conflicts with that conclusion. There's nothing more dangerous than a police department that's made up its mind because they are totally excluding anything that conflicts with that conclusion. There's nothing more dangerous than a police department that's made up its mind because they are totally excluding anything that conflicts with that conclusion.
My mic was muted. Sorry, I'm not very technical, am I? Hello, everyone. That was, if you don't know, John Benet Ramsey's father. And I watched the 60 Minutes program on the new evidence. I'm not sure it is new evidence, actually. But, you know, the fact that the police ignored the stun gun marks on Jean Benet Ramsey's neck. So I was watching that and her father came up with this, and I thought that was so poignant that, you know, nothing is more dangerous than a police department who have made up their minds because then they ignore everything that doesn't fit in with their narrative. And that is how I feel about the Idaho 4. So that is how I just wanted to start tonight. And I want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for joining me. Can you hear me okay? I've got my new microphone on, and I had all sorts of problems with it on Dinky's Live last night, but I think I rigged it up. It's not a very stable microphone, but I'm just hoping I'm not too loud or I'm not too quiet. Please let me know as we go along if sound becomes unbearable. I've also got a notification that my connection is unstable, so you might lose me at some point. But yeah, I thought I'd get a new microphone because I'm aware, you know, you look back at some of your videos and I thought my sound isn't very good. So I'm trying to work on these things. I've even got a new desk. I bought a desk. It's a corner desk and I love it. And it means my kitchen table has come back. So that's great. I'm trying to get sorted now that I'm at home and I'm unable to work at the moment. So I'm hoping to do a lot more with my channel. But obviously it all depends on what is going on at home. So, hey, Katie, Canadian Cat Lady, Rondi, Rach, Gibbo, I'm glad you caught alive. Yeah, Hope Floats. It's so good to have you here. I'm sorry if I've missed anyone. I hope I haven't. And of course, because I haven't done a live for quite a while, I had my YouTube going, the actual YouTube going alongside the StreamYard, which is why you all had echo and lots of noise. So please bear with me, guys. I will get back on it, but I was never a technical pro anyway. But during my sort of weird family life, let's just put it like that, at the moment, I've been dipping in and out. I'm trying to catch up on what's new. I think probably I might have to split the live tonight into two. I was going to do one big massive one, but I'm really shattered. But once I start talking, I might not stop. So let's just see what happens. Hi, Summer Jade. Yeah, so I've been trying to keep up. And while I was trying to keep up, sort of new things did come to light. And of course, I'm not sure that they are verified, but some of them made sense to me. And one of them was, and I don't know how I missed it. I watch all of Harsh Reality. I think he's just Harsh now, Harsh's videos. And I came across one from a month ago. So that's how out of touch I am. And it was, I believe, a video that was, I know it was a video, but I think it was from Steve Gonsalves. Now, I can't find this interview or where this information came from, but I'm pretty sure Harsh said it was Steve Gonsalves about the slider being open when the DoorDash arrived. Did you guys hear that? Hello, Eva Marie, Natural Healing, Just Peachy. How are you? How are you doing? I'm trying to dip. Hey guys, you do need to go and check out Just Peachy's channel. She's got some really humble and lovely things on there. And I'm loving the clay making. I know I've still got a video to watch, Peachy, on your newest dishes. So if anyone fancies something a bit different and something sort of more true to our lives probably than the true crime and the horrible things that go on, although Peachy, you've been having a little bit of a crappy time recently too, so lots of love to you. But yes, Natural Healing, you see, hey Jessie Lynn, good to see you. There is a video on Harsh's page. Now, do you know, I've just been, as you can see from my community post, I've been all over the place, thanks to my dog and other things that went on at home. And then I saw tonight it was a full moon. I don't know about you, but my world always gets slightly more chaotic when it's a full moon. And my day has been like that today. So I tried to find then the interview, the video on Harsh's channel, and I couldn't find that either. But I only watched it, I think, 2 days ago. And he said, now it might have come via Get a Clue, and it was all about Steve Gonsalves talking to a grand juror. And I have to say, it seemed like it was pretty solid coming from Steve, but of course this is via Harsh. So we've got to be careful of Chinese whispers and everything, because, you know, things go wrong. But I'm really sorry, I can't find the exact source. But Steve Gonsalves had been talking to a grand juror, and Harsh had sort of mentioned that Howard Bloom, like his sort of accusation in his article that a grand juror had been speaking seemed to be correct. Oh, hi Fallon, that's interesting. See, I hadn't heard any of this, and Harsh said something like, if this is true, this blows the case out of the water. And allegedly, everything in our chat is alleged or based on facts we've been given, but it is just discussion and theories. Allegedly, the backslider was already open when DoorDash arrived. So, hey, MDP and Heather, hello, guys. So this, I just thought we could discuss that, because if that is true, and that has not come out, you know, until now, or until Steve spoke, that changes everything, doesn't it? Because according to the PCA, we've got Dylan waking up around 4 a.m. and the DoorDash arriving at around 4 a.m. And we know that Dylan woke, according to the PCA, to sounds like Kaylee playing with Murphy upstairs. So this could really make sense, because in Dinky's live yesterday, Cluminati brought up a good point. You know, around 4 a.m. could be 4:02, it could be 4:15, it could be 4:12. But I'd like to think that the DoorDash has got a proper record of when they delivered the order. And I would like to think that law enforcement check those facts. You know, I don't know exactly what went on, like none of us do in the Dylan interview with the police. But I hope that law enforcement have done enough investigating that they know that Dylan and DoorDash arrived about the same time, if it is good enough to be the same sort of time in the PCA. Do you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. So it's kind of Dylan wakes to the sound of Kaylee playing with Murphy, possibly. That's what she thinks she hears. And the DoorDash also arrives around 4 a.m. So it makes you wonder, did Dylan also hear the DoorDash? Then it also made me wonder if it was Xana who collected the DoorDash. So that would mean that DoorDash went up the side, maybe on instruction, and perhaps kind of shouted through the door, order for Xana. So DoorDash's statement was, Xana received a DoorDash. Did another girl pick up the DoorDash? Did Xana pick up the DoorDash? But the door being open at around the same time that Dylan hears noises upstairs, that is pretty big. Hello, Batshit Crazy. No, I agree. But I'm in two minds whether I don't trust Dylan or I don't trust cops, or both. Because there's something else I want to discuss tonight about the cops. So I'm just thinking, did law enforcement get a description from the DoorDash driver that matched Xana's, so that that DoorDash driver could say Xana received, the food? Xana received the package, show him a picture or her a picture. Yes, that was her. Or did another female collect the DoorDash? Or did he leave it on the step, he or she leave it on the step and just shout out, order for Xana? And that's just the way they worded it in the PCA, that Xana received a DoorDash. Order for Xana, let's say Xana or someone pretending to be Xana ordered the DoorDash. Okay, well, yeah, I delivered it. What if the DoorDash said, I delivered it, and Xana ordered it, and the police simply worded it like that in the PCA, Xana received a DoorDash, because the DoorDash simply said it was delivered at around 4. Now, I'm also questioning, this, what time, that we've talked about this before, but what time, I'd love to know what time that order was made. I think that would be very telling. So yeah, this slider being open, let's say that is fact, and the DoorDash driver came up to the slider and sorry, I was just reading that comment. What Dylan heard was the perp. Okay, so Dylan is hearing sounds upstairs that she thought, Kaylee was playing with Murphy. So what if the perp had gone into the premises already, had gone upstairs and was doing the worst? Maybe, I can't imagine then that Xana was unaware. So was it Xana picking up the DoorDash? I just don't feel that, that there could be this noise at the same time the DoorDash driver gets there. Or was it a fact that Xana did actually pick up her own DoorDash? DoorDash driver heads off, and Perp comes downstairs and Xana runs into him in the hallway. But that's got to happen really quick, hasn't it? So Gibbo, I don't know. You see, I've never really heard anything other than this that I saw on Harsh's channel. I never heard any detail other than Xana received a DoorDash order at around 4 a.m. And then, allegedly suspect vehicle 1 pulls up, pulls up around 4:04, but then there's some more driving. So I think we've all worked out that if the driver of suspect vehicle 1 is the one who entered the residence. It wouldn't have been before really about 4:10, 4:12. So it's just a mess. I just think it's a little bit of a mess. So the DoorDash was delivered, Heather says, I think the DoorDash was delivered at 3:58 or whatever when we hear the honking just before 4 on the Linda Lane footage. That would work. Yeah, that would work. And of course, as we've said before, Dylan's woken up at 4, yet she states that everyone was in their rooms by 4. So I just don't know. I don't know, but I was just thinking that if somebody was upstairs at around this time, as law enforcement have grouped the DoorDash timing with what Dylan heard, it's got to be one of two things. Either Kaylee was awake and playing with her dog, or someone was upstairs. Oh, that would be great, Gibbo. Thank you. Sorry, one second. Excuse me 1 second. Right, sorry, I'm back. DoorDash left on doorstep. Food was untouched in front room and door was open all night. See, I've never heard any of this. So when you say, that's my dog, the little tyke who ran away this morning. By front room, do you mean, you know, that picture we saw in the kitchen there, or in the sitting room, or in her bedroom? Just wondering if you know, Gibbo. And you're right, Jessie Lynn. We also have no idea what was ordered, just because it was just. Yeah, I think that could have been from another night, and I think a few people have mentioned it, that it looks like the sticker from the coffee cup was put on the bag. I'm still completely gobsmacked that the trash outside the house seems like it was never gone through. Anything could have been in that bin. So yeah, this slider being open was a bit of a shocker, if it's true, because it changes the whole narrative. And of course, we've all said it before, if that was the perp upstairs when Dylan woke up, the driver of suspect vehicle 1 was still driving around the neighbourhood, if law enforcement's timings have been correct. And I'll never understand, you know, they've got to surely have footage of the DoorDash driver pulling up, haven't they? I just don't believe that they've got footage of this suspect vehicle 1, but no footage of the DoorDash. So I think they must be pretty precise as to when the DoorDash arrived. Again, why put it as a vague statement in the PCA? And the other thing I noticed in the PCA, which I've forgotten to mention before, is, and you might have a really good reason for this, but I thought, why are BF and DM's initials handwritten in when everyone else's are typed? Do you find that odd? I do. Now, there might be a completely normal explanation for that, but I get this sense in the PCA that there's kind of like a fill in the gaps type thing. I'll give you an example of what I mean. We've got these handwritten BF and DMs when everyone else is typed. And actually, it's not in the PCA. It's in a document that was signed by Dawn Daniels, and I think it was a search warrant. She actually states in this document, and I have got it somewhere, I can't look for it now because my desktop's a hot mess, frankly. But I'll put it on my community tab. I'll look for it tomorrow. So Dawn Daniels says that the knife sheath, that's right, it was about checking his apartment and everything, searching his apartment. And they've got to list all these reasons why they want a warrant, etc. And I think it's the same document that says they're looking for a weapon and a sheath. Again, why are they looking for a sheath when allegedly they found one at the scene? So she's put a weapon and its sheath, and also says, and I've mentioned it before, that the weapon was lying either next to or beneath Madison Logan. That is the wording in the document. Either next to or beneath. I almost felt like, oh, she's forgotten to delete the one that's not applicable. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, scrub out the one that doesn't apply. So does anyone know why BF and DM's initials would be handwritten in to the PCA when everybody else's was just typed up as you would normally in a report? Yeah, that's right, Jessie. They took his pizza cutter. I mean, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't. This is not a laughing case, but that is some crime, isn't it? If you're going to commit something like this with a pizza cutter, I mean, doesn't that conjure up all sorts of images that you don't want to think about? But I mean, that would surely be the bluffer's guide to murdering someone, using a pizza cutter. Oh, but do you know what? I bet if we look into the history of true crime, it wouldn't surprise me that something like that has happened in the past. Yeah. Hi, Jackie. I'm more concerned with the private driver. I heard Jay Vito saying the girls ran from the male driver that picked them up at the grub truck. I had not heard that one before. No, I hadn't heard that one before. Picked them up at the grub truck. But then didn't Christy say that she knew that they had been dropped off? Didn't they have footage? I might be mistaken. I'm just yeah, same as me, Rach. I'm just thinking that, was it Olivia or Christy or both of them? I'm pretty sure they got footage of the girls, Kaylee and Maddie, sort of exiting the car or the car pulling up, because that's how they knew what time they arrived home. Am I right? Yes, that's it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm also a bit concerned about the private driver. I'm very concerned about all these people that were cleared, because the other thing I was thinking, all this evidence, all these terabytes of evidence that the prosecution has handed over to the defense that has not been indexed or organized in any way. Who thinks for 1 minute that law enforcement have checked all of that stuff? Do you think they've gone through it themselves? I don't think they will have. I think that is why, again, I put up that John Benet Ramsey's dad, I've forgotten his name, how terrible is that? Saying, there's nothing more dangerous than a police department who've made their minds up. I just feel there's so many red flags pointing to that in this case, like the unidentified male DNA didn't bother with it. And I would put money on it that all these terabytes of evidence have not been properly investigated, because I don't believe, how many interviews did they say they'd done? Oh God, sorry, I just tried to shut my door and it was really loud. They said they conducted, this was a week after, they'd conducted something like, I can't remember, it was a lot of interviews. Presser took 2 days, no, 13, wasn't it the 16th? 3 days after. And then I think it was Aaron Snell who said was it 90 interviews or something, and that was within about 7 days. I don't think they would have been very in-depth interviews, in my opinion. What's Jessie saying here? 51 is all the phones, all the interviews, pings, video footage, pictures from crime scene. It's the whole case, not 51 on Brian himself. I know, but I think they'll think all the tips they'll have had, everything. Exactly. I don't think they will have rooted through all that stuff. I think they had to get someone fast. I think someone sent a tip in. And I feel like they've made it match, but that is just my opinion. They've made it fit, but I don't think they've done a very good job of it at all. So what does Ronde say? If they saw that, well, this is it. Yeah, about the girls being dropped off by the driver. How did they not see everything else going on? Also, I mean, this camera that was set up at the back of the house that's been discussed hundreds of times, but it's from way back, isn't it? Who knows if that really happened? But, you know, why would students set up a camera secretly behind the house? I know it's part of a photography project, but, you know, it said on that post, didn't it? Was it Reddit or 4chan? You know, we reserve the right to not explain why we were doing it. If I were the police, I'd really want to interview those people, because we've got so-called evidence that Brian stalked the victims because his phone pinged 12 times off a tower that services the house. We've also got a student who says, actually, we set up a camera outside the back. We reserve the right to not say why. And we saw someone running from the house. Now, I'd want to know, what the hell are you doing with a camera behind 1122 King Road, wouldn't you? I just really think that's more, what's the word, more stalkery. You know, a bunch of students setting up a camera behind the victim's house. How many times have they done that, I wonder? You know, have they just said to law enforcement, well, it's part of our photography project, made something up, and the police have gone, oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's bizarre to me, really bizarre. No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe they've told the police that, but maybe they've explained what project they were doing. But I would still be doing a thorough check of those students, knowing that on the night of the murders, allegedly, they'd set up a camera behind that particular house. And I'd want to know exactly how many times they'd done it. Makes you wonder, were the runners on the band field the students who had set up a camera behind the house? You don't know. We don't know who those runners were. And I'd put money on it that the police probably aren't sure, because there are no cameras at Sigma Chi. I think they were running back to Sigma Chi, or I think that's how you say it. Is how you say Sigma. I always get concerned about how I'm pronouncing the Chi bit. But yeah, when I think it was Brian Enton stopped that student, or was it the president of Sigma Chi? You know, he asked him, have you got cameras? And he said, no, unfortunately not. You know, how can you not have cameras outside a fraternity house when there will be hazing or, you know, I don't know, any possibility of any crime? And what? You're not going to keep your students safe and set cameras up. You're not going to have that as a prevention. No, that I don't like that either. Heather, and yet did they ID? Well, this is it, Heather. You know, I think that house was, as we know, a party house. That house was not. Can you imagine the DNA in that house? You know, it will be everywhere. And I don't believe there's only 2 unidentified male DNAs in that house. I really don't. I think there will be. And why does it, not just male? Parties, people bring girlfriends they haven't met before. Did law enforcement seriously go through all the DNA in that house? And then what? What did they do? It's like, oh, this is purely an example. Oh, it's right, Jack. That's Jack D's DNA. Of course, his DNA is going to be in this house. Next. Oh, you were sleeping, Jack. Okay, fine. Yeah, all right. Yeah, he's cleared. That, let's see. With only 100 collected, the DNA came from a very relative place. Yeah. Right, let's see what Fallon says here. This is interesting. Camera on tripod set to record 8 p.m. December the 12th to 8 a.m. December the 13th. Took by Idaho State Police and sealed. Rumor copy made before they took it. Guy with camera, likely frat guy who films questionable at campus events. Okay. Do you mean November, or was that actually afterwards? Hello, Albert. Good to see you. I'm going to cough, and I don't know how that works with these microphones. Hang on, I'll mute. I don't want to deafen you all. So yeah, I just got thinking about this camera and the fact students are filming behind a house on the night of the murders, and it made me wonder how many times before they'd done it. So that was something else that came into my head, because I'd always sort of, all this stuff we heard at the beginning, we tend to sort of skim over, don't we? What's this, Fallon? Saw a photo of back of 1122 at night with note written on saying free porn. So, oh wow, when did you, what night? Before the murders, do you mean? God, that would be, well, either a prank, I suppose, or telling. That's okay. I thought it was November 12th. Don't worry. I figured it out. But yeah, if you could, if you could clarify this one, Fallon. Was that before the murders? Yeah, yeah, you're right, Gibbo. That house layout on the outside was designed for crime. So yeah, there's some more things I have been considering, and that is, God, this has been, pardon the expression, done to death, but where Ethan was in the room. So, I personally think that Ethan was further inside the room than Xana. Was it Christy that said, was it Ethan she said was blocking the door? I need to go back and watch some of these interviews. Oh, thanks, Fallon. Okay, time to do some more digging. So I'm just thinking that if the PCA is to be believed, Xana was in front of Ethan, and Ethan was further inside, and we know that there was blood dripping outside of the house from where the bed would be. So just putting those things together, I would make the assumption that Ethan was either on the bed or near the bed at the back of the room, and Xana was at the front. Now, this is what I wanted to discuss with you guys and what you think. There's a couple of options, isn't there, that Xana ran into the perpetrator in the hallway while Ethan was in the bedroom. But I have a problem with that because Ethan, I feel certain, would have felt Xana's fear. Xana fought. He could call 911 in that time. And I think he could take on one perp. And if it was Brian Koberger, I think he would be a good match, even against a knife. So that doesn't kind of make sense to me. So I'm not sure about that theory. I'm also wondering if, again, if they were both in bed and Xana's near the door, there is a chance that they were both attacked in the bed and Xana managed to crawl perhaps to the doorway, which is why they couldn't open the door, allegedly. Again, it's all alleged, isn't it? So that could be an option. Oh, do you know, I'm sorry, this little dog of mine is going, my lounge door won't shut properly. And he is going in and out of the room. And Sonny is still up, listening to something a bit noisy. And the dog just keeps going in and out. So I have to keep getting up and shutting the door. So, yeah, that I think is feasible. That perhaps both were attacked in the bed. And Xana perhaps crawled out of the bed and made it as far as the door after the perp had left, which would explain why the door wouldn't open, perhaps, and because I don't believe it was Ethan in the hallway, unless it's just a downright lie in the PCA, and that wouldn't surprise me either. Hello, Nonny, good to see you. Yeah, I'm still not talking to him though, Fallon. Oh my God, I'll tell you after, but he tested my fitness this morning. I tell you, I can't keep up with my dog. Yeah, we'll get onto that, Jessie, as well. Thanks for bringing that up. So there's another theory. I thought, what if this perp or perps are attacking Xana and Ethan runs into the bedroom to try and get his phone to call 911? That could explain why he's further inside the room, because we all, don't we, sleep with our phones next to us on the bedside table, or I don't know what was in their room exactly, but maybe his phone was further in the room and Xana had been attacked and he's trying to grab his phone and call 911. And that was another option. And then I thought, if there was a fight between Ethan and other frat boys that night, he might have been injured, not badly injured, or he might have been a little bit bruised up, or, a few punches to the face, and he was kind of moaning and groaning in bed with his fight injuries. If the fight happened, and we seem to think that there was a fight, and that's why he was further inside the room, because Xana was up and about receiving DoorDash, and perhaps Ethan was licking his wounds, and maybe that's why Ethan had 2 autopsies, because perhaps he received injuries earlier in the night, bruising and punch marks, as opposed to stab wound, as well as stab wounds, but different kinds of injuries. Perhaps he was the only one who had those. So it's always been a puzzle to me. Again, we just want answers to everything, don't we? And we will, I'm sure, get a lot of answers at trial. But yeah, it's all you would always think that the male, the big strong man, sorry, maybe I'm just too old-fashioned because Xana had guts, but would be the one to kind of be at the front doing the fighting. But then I'm wondering, what if Xana and Ethan were inside their rooms with the door locked and someone they knew knocked on the door and Xana went to open it? Xana gets stabbed and Ethan doesn't have time really to do, anything to get him out of the situation, and him and Xana out of the situation. Yeah, I heard that, Rondi, as well. Oh God, I've got Hyde now. Hang on, his injury. Oh dear. What happens is I click on a comment to try and highlight it, and as I do, the chat jumps up, and I click the wrong one quite a lot. I heard that too. And yeah, Nonny, I think you're right. Ethan's parents. So yeah, I tried to click on that then. There we are. I've got to be quicker. I thought it was Ethan's parents as well. I think you might be right there. Oh, that's interesting. He didn't have 2 autopsies. It was 15th of... Ah, yes, I remember there was another guy called Ethan Chapin, wasn't there? I wasn't sure. Yeah, was it in a similar area? Okay, that would make sense. Yes, I remember there being another Ethan Chapin. That, yeah, 2 autopsies for a guy with the same name. Thing is, Harsh does so many videos. I think it's my computer. I'm finding it quite hard to find. I need to say, like, screen record what I need. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on who was where? Hi, Tanel. Yeah, because, I think they knew the perps. I watch so much stuff even if I've got a spare half an hour, I have a quick flick through, see whose videos are up and about. And then I can't remember what I saw where. But it might even have been a comment on someone's video, I think it was, that in most crimes like this, the victims know the killers. It's the most common. It's the Occam's razor, and this case to me is absolutely fascinating because, and maybe this is why we are all so fascinated, is because for me anyway, I can't find the Occam's razor because there are so many possible scenarios. And for me, the Brian Koberger story is not the Occam's razor. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you think about Brian, motive, he'd been there since August. For me, the hot mess that's the PCA, because there's so many things wrong with that PCA, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, being an armchair detective. But when you think about everything else we have learnt and that we have seen, every other scenario is more Occam's razor than Brian Koberger. Exactly. Does not fit. Yeah, I just think, let's think about it. We've got, and this is just theorizing, that is my disclaimer. This is all theories and theorizing. Jack D. split up with Kaylee. And did you guys, it's amazing how we miss things, but did you pick up, I think it's a new channel I found actually, 11 to 11 True Crime. Really enjoying her channel, and that's a new one for me. And she did a video. Well, she's done a couple actually that I'm finding quite fascinating. On Linda Lane. Now, I am very aware that the audio for Linda Lane has probably been very tampered with. But she also did two videos, the Linda Lane and the possibility that a male is whistling and shouting for Murphy. Did you guys see that? I'm a little bit skeptical about it because I think we would have picked up, maybe you guys did pick up on someone whistling for a dog and it sounds like Murphy. And that is, frankly, for me, the only thing that I could say in the Linda Lane audio. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. I can't hear anyone shouting Kaylee. I can't hear anyone shouting Xana, nothing like that. But for this particular video that 11 to 11 put out, if that is legitimate, I can accept that could well be a male shouting for Murphy, and it is definitely a whistle for a dog, in my opinion, if that hasn't been tampered with. And then that linked with the other video that 11 to 11 put out that I completely missed in the Chronicles of Olivia interview with the Gonsalves family, is where Steve Gonsalves says that Kaylee sent a text to Jack that night saying, if you don't pick up, I will leave tonight with the dog. Now, that's not a friendly text, is it? And it made me think, and now that is from Steve's mouth. I went back to Chronicles of Olivia video, and hi, Victoria. And he says it. And in my opinion, he completely misinterprets it. He kind of says it in a way that, almost like, that's how kind of still into him she was, or that's how, familiar they are with each other. I thought, well, it sounds to me like they had an argument. And I can tell you now, and my ex would sit here and agree with me, that when we split up, we had some humdingers about our dogs. And it was like, right, fine, I'm just taking him. I'm just taking him. So you can't take him. And to me, it's completely obvious now that all that texting at the grub truck, I'm sure that is when an argument possibly started. Maybe it was then, oh, come over, maybe some text messages, come over. And she was persistent. But to say to someone, if you don't pick up, I'm going to leave tonight and take the dog. Now, either Jack heard that, either he read that. Did he get angry? I'm not saying that's the motive to kill, but could it have been the start of a fight? And then, right, you've got to bear with me because this is just a theory. So I took what Steve Gonsalves said, and I took the possibility of someone whistling for the dog. What if Jack went over at that point and started an argument, or continued to argue, said, you can't just go and take the dog. Maybe, she did apply for rented accommodation or put an advert out saying, me and a dog would like a room to rent. But so I would feel certain that Jack knew that when she left, she'd be taking Murphy with her. But to say, do you know what, unless you answer my phone call, I'm going tonight. That's saying, and you won't see Murphy before he goes. I would be thoroughly pissed off. I really was. I would be really upset, and I would go over there. So then I thought, what if, they're having an argument. What if Jack then says, because my ex has done this, said, right, I'm taking him now then, I'll take him, I'll have him. It's like custody. What if Jack then took the dog, Murphy, and that's when we hear, Murphy, Murphy, I can assure you that not all dogs have great recall. And I had that very experience this morning. My little fella was heading to town. And so perhaps Jack was calling Murphy to go with him. This is purely theory. What if Kaylee then went out to get Murphy? It's kind of like a battle of the, who's getting the dog tonight. And Kaylee gets Murphy and takes him back to the house and shuts Murphy in her room to stop Jack getting to him. That could have been what Dylan heard, the sounds of Kaylee playing with Murphy. Could have been Kaylee pulling Murphy up the stairs and putting him in her room, because actually she's not going to let Jack take him, and she's possibly locked him in her room. I don't know. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. It might be reaching. It might be too far-fetched. But I do know that a lot of people fight and argue about a shared dog when they've split up. And it's just the fact that Steve said that Kaylee had messaged him, if you don't pick up, I'm leaving tonight with the dog. That's quite a threat. Maybe they had a grapple. I don't know. I'm not even saying this has got anything to do with what happened, but I'm wondering if it was something to do with Murphy being shut in the room and Dylan hearing noises that sounded like Kaylee playing with Murphy. I don't know. And of course, but you see now, Jesse, I have a problem with the Gonsalveses making him strip down. So it's November and he turned up in shorts. Okay, that might be really normal for young sort of 20-somethings, but I wouldn't be wearing shorts in November. Was he trying to prove something? Olivia said I checked his shoes. What the heck does that prove? Well, you checked his shoes? People can change their shoes. Didn't have any cuts on him. As far as I know, I don't think Coburger did either. So where's the difference? They made him strip down. Whoever the perp was might not have actually had any injuries. Hi, Sherry. I just didn't. To me, what the Gonsalveses did to prove to themselves that Jack D was innocent meant nothing. They checked his car. Jack D would not have to have driven to 1122. He would have walked. So what would she have hoped to have seen in the car? She checked his shoes. What was she hoping to find on his shoes? He could change his shoes. And yeah, he had no injuries. Okay, there are no injuries, but it doesn't prove to me that he's innocent, even though then we've got the corner club situation. That's one of the last persons she was talking to, but I think that Jack D's demeanor in the corner club was very chilled. and very friendly. And I think you can see him smiling. He looks really relaxed. It doesn't look like they were having an argument. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's on the shelf for me. Does that make sense? Jack D is on the shelf. Again, we've got the sort of Occam's razor. Most crimes of passion are done by a partner or an ex-partner. But obviously, this is my Occam's razor doesn't always work. So yeah, I was just thinking about Murphy and Murphy being shut in the room, and then this whistle, possibly. I'm a bit, suspicious of the Linda Lane audio. I think the visual is more trustworthy. The other one I wanted to talk about was cops. The cops. Now, I don't know if you guys saw my video, Where Do the Cops Go at 4 a.m.? So I had a bit of a theory. Hi, Julie. That, I think 3:40 a.m. is the latest police log from the September 22 to November 22. I checked all the police logs on Sunday mornings. There is never a police log after 3:40 a.m. with the exception of Halloween weekend. Then the police logs start again. I think there's one or two around 7:30, mainly between sort of 8, 8:30, 9, 10 the next morning. So this means to me there must be a shift change, and we have discussed this before. So that got me thinking, what if this 8-hour delay is kind of Dylan and Bethany just going along with the police? Because what if there weren't police around to deal with a crime like that? What if there weren't cops that were qualified enough to go and handle a quadruple homicide? Or what if cops were called and they couldn't stomach it? And what if those cops said to Dylan and Bethany, just get the hell out of here? And then they're thinking, how the hell are we going to tell the public there was nobody around that could deal with this? These students in our university town are supposed to feel safe, and we don't have cops on after about 3:40 in the morning. So I'm just thinking, just the fact that these police logs stop at 3:40. What if the girls did call 911 and no one turned up? Or what if they described that someone had just been in the house and they think something bad's happened, and cops said, get the hell out of there. Just get out of there, go and stay with someone or go and see someone. But they couldn't send anyone around until the next day because Fry and Payne were out of town for a start, weren't they? Yeah, exactly, Heather. But, then we've got the gag order, haven't we? Nothing's being released. And who's to say that the police, I just think they're quite corrupt. Who's to say they won't lie about what time the call came in? I just feel that 8 hours obviously is sus. I do think there's some sort of cover up, because I think one creator said, what could 8 hours have been? What the hell was in the house for it to take 8 hours? But I think, there's getting your story straight can take quite a long time. And you think about it, if it's the frat boy theory or a fight breaking out that just went horrifically wrong, to say the least, what if there's then panic? You've got that, oh my God, panic. They're trying to perhaps calm some perps down or a perp down. It's okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. And they all start planning a cover up. And then we've got Fry not bothering to do a presser until, I'm sure it was the 16th of November. And he says in that presser, I'm something like, in reality, I perhaps could have been here a day or two earlier, but I'm here now. What's his excuse for not giving a presser for 3 days? Because this again ties in with the bodies being removed from the house. These are all things I'm talking to you tonight about, are these puzzles for me, or I'm trying to find that Occam's razor. What is it that makes the most sense with everything we know, or certain things we've heard? What have we heard that would make something more plausible? I'm just, it's all going around in my head as it is yours. The bodies. Now, so many people have said that, the bodies were removed at the time of the first presser. That's 3 days later. I do not believe that those bodies were kept there for 3 days. And I still don't believe that nobody would have got footage of them being removed from the house. So then I saw and heard, and I've seen people saying, oh, it was the time that truck came and there was this big tarp that went over the truck. That was December the 30th. And they had to stop. And it says, and I did dig this out for you, and you know what, guys, I will do a condensed version of this live and make it more coherent. I've got nothing in front of me. I'm just chatting to you. So I will put something together and find the things that I'm talking to you about. But on December the 30th, sorry, I'm going to cough again. Sorry, I'm just getting dry throat, talking too much. I should be used to talking too much. It's not new for me. Yeah, that's what I think, you see. I think that. So this tarp, and this links to another major eyebrow raise. December the 30th, you've got them going into the house to clear everything out, and it says in it to clean and disinfect the property, okay? So if they were going to go in and clean and disinfect this property and basically sort of deep clean it, why then was it why would it have been dangerous after that? It was all this kind of, oh, it's toxic in there. Yet they were going to go in on December the 30th and disinfect the property and deep clean it. If it's dangerous, do you bother? You just pull it down. But no, they were going in on December the 30th in a rush, in my opinion, because who was arrested that day? Brian Koberger. Brian Koberger was arrested on the very same day that law enforcement had arranged for the cleaning up of the property. And I think the reason they went in there, they went in so to stop the defense seeing something, in my opinion. Yes, Anne did put a stop to it. But isn't it telling that they made sure they got their asses into there the minute Brian Koberger was arrested? And that kind of tells us how on the ball Anne Taylor is, actually, that she's like, whoa, hang on a minute. Stop. I just, yeah, Sherry, exactly. They wanted it done before the defense could examine it. And that is my belief. That is my belief. And Victoria, that was part of the preparation to demolish the house. Yeah, but why bother? Why bother deep cleaning it? You know, it's I don't know. But December the 30th is a pretty poignant date in this case. And you know, yes, you're right. It was to demolish the house, but it's on the day he got arrested and had to stop them. I think they were hiding something. They didn't want the defense in there. Oh, sorry, you're too late. We've cleaned it all now. Well, you know, I'm not saying they were hiding actual evidence, as in there was something in that house, but I think they wanted that house cleaned before the defense could get to it. Let's see what that. I did notice media were only allowed at the corner on November the 13th and 14th. They were allowed right outside the house. See, I also wondered, in a sort of panicking way, did law enforcement get there earlier and remove the bodies before dawn, just to avoid media glare? You know, the horror of bodies being removed from the house. And that's another reason why there was an 8-hour delay, because they did things like that. Perhaps they broke a few rules in that respect. Hence, they've been covering their backs, but it's gone wrong because they're not very good at continuity and, you know, getting their stories straight, in my opinion. Well, that's another good point, Sherry. How much cleaning were they able to do before she stopped it? I think so. Yeah. As I said, I'll do a video because that was the plan, was to clean according to what I've read. It was an article, I'm sure. I will find it. They were planning to clean. Of course, they're obviously removing things, but yeah, it was definitely a cleanup job as well, according to what I've read. I will find it. I'll put a sort of, I'll call it something like the summary of this live, and just try and put together some of the things that I found and I saw. So yeah, there's just quite a few things that I've been mulling over, and there's more. But I just wondered if anybody. I'm going to go through chat and see what you guys have been saying. I'm sorry, I'm aware that I'm kind of a little bit not as coherent perhaps as I normally am, but I'm tired. I am tired. I tell you, I haven't had a lie-in for ages. I was hoping for one this morning, but I made the mistake of letting the dogs out. And next thing I know, I'm running through the village towards town. And I've got a little dog who's looking at me and running even faster. Oh my God. So I had a rude awakening this morning. That was before my cup of tea. So let's see. Victoria says, the reason I say this is because my ex-landlord had an alibi if someone did the same thing. I don't know what you mean, sorry. It might be my tiredness. Had an alibi if someone of her and did the same thing. Okay. Right, let's have a look at this. The 301 Banfield was only logged because Ellie called it in. Same could have happened for this call. Stating unconscious person doesn't alarm citizens on scanners. Excellent point. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true. So, I think that would be a pretty big thing for law enforcement to try and cover up, that they didn't take the call seriously. And that is a really good point. Unconscious person. Yeah. Oh gosh. Do you know, in some ways, the sooner this trial comes, the better, because I'm impatient. I want to know some things now, because we can't help ourselves, can we? We can't help. Hello, how are you? We can't help ourselves. Speculation and theorizing, and for want of repeating myself, Occam's razor's been playing on my mind a lot, and Brian Koberger isn't it, in my opinion. I truly believe that that wasn't his sheath. I'll just leave that there, because I think you all probably know I think it's planted, but that is just me and my opinion. But I am prepared to be open-minded, and nothing so far has convinced me it's Brian. Nothing. But I'm prepared to accept that he could have done it. Doesn't make sense to me. And that was the other thing I wanted to recommend you watch, and you should watch it, guys, because there's quite a lot in it that will make you think when it comes to this case, and that is EWU. Do you watch that? Yeah, I think so too. EWU, Explore With Us. They've got a couple of channels, and there's Explore With Us Crime Stories, there's Just Explore With Us, and they just have the most amazing videos. They're so fascinating. There's a lot of police interrogations. They interview suspects, they look at their body language, and they tell the story as well. It's really, really interesting. It's all true crime. And a lot of it is never seen before stuff. And they did a documentary on, this is where I know my brain is failing. Is it Daniel Marsh? Bear with me, I'm going to have to. Yes, I did speak of it last night. Did I say Daniel Marsh? Because I've gone blank. Hang on, I'm going to find. Hang on. I'll just type it in. I'm sure it's Daniel Marsh. Yes. So Daniel William Marsh murdered Claudia, I don't know how to pronounce it, Mopam and Oliver Northup. Now, this boy was 15 years old, okay? It's a really interesting documentary. He was odd. He had a girlfriend who speaks in the documentary. And this boy of 15 had been fantasizing about serial killers and had fantasized about killing someone when he was 10. He waited till he was 15. If I remember correctly, he had been on some sort of psychotic drugs. I think he had bipolar or something like that. So he had been on, I say psychotic drugs, I mean prescription drugs for that. And anyway, this particular night, he decided that night was the night. And he went around his neighborhood and tried, he reckons, about 50 different doors. So anyone would do. Tried 50 doors and found one. that he could get into. He had even taped up the soles of his shoes so not to leave any imprints, or footprints, I should say, on the floor. He managed to not leave any DNA at the scene, and he brutally, oh my God, it's awful, brutally murdered this elderly couple in their beds. But what was interesting about that in particular was that he claimed, a bit of a trigger warning here, guys, trigger warning. He claimed that as he was stabbing the lady, Claudia, she was screaming, because they asked him, did she scream? Did she make a noise? Yes. Yo, she was begging me to stop. And his words, she wouldn't die. I mean, she had so many stab wounds and it took her ages to die, and she screamed and shouted and begged. What he also said was that her husband, Oliver Northup, didn't have a chance to scream because really with one wound to the throat rendered him silent. He couldn't scream or shout. He did horrible. I mean, he did, if we're to believe that wounds that Ethan had and Kaylee had, I think Steve has filled us in on some of that. I'd say this Daniel Marsh would have been similar wounds, and oh my God, I tell you what, I warn you before watching it, because they do tell you exactly what oh God, I don't know what to call him, this monster did. I think he was 15. And he would have got away with it. That's what's really scary. He would have got away with it. Apart from, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He basically told his, I think she might have been his ex-girlfriend by then, but he bragged. He was so pleased with himself, and he was so excited by it that he just shopped himself in, basically, to a friend and an ex-girlfriend. But there's some comparisons, obviously, with this case, and then it made me think, could that be who Brian Kohberger is? This guy had been bullied. He was, socially awkward, fantasies of serial killers. I'm not saying even Kohberger had fantasies of he studied them, doesn't mean he wanted to be one, even though mainstream media think that's the case. But I'd recommend you watching that, EWU. I'll put the link afterwards for that. And I'll tell you, you'll probably binge watch if you haven't discovered their channel before. You'll probably have a right old binge watching session on there. So, I'm trying to think that it's not impossible that Kohberger was that sort of person. It's not impossible. This guy, Daniel Marsh, 5 years it took him to do it. And he said it was just the most awesome feeling ever. But you've got a criminology PhD student, as we've said a million times, who's not clever enough, apparently, to not drive his car around, to not carry a sheath in. I don't believe that it dropped off because they've got big leather loops on them. I don't think he would have carried it in a sheath or draw it like a sword and commence battle. I just don't see that happening. I'm law enforcement in the PCA, it's so embarrassing. They assume, because it's happened so many times before, that he turned his phone off to commit the murders. You can't assume in a PCA. You know, this is why we want to arrest him. We think his phone, we couldn't place him there at the time of the murders, but we think he turned his phone off. So I think we should arrest him. It's crazy. I know why you said that, just Amber, because there's something I won't do spoiler alert, you know, but yeah, there's something he does, doesn't he, when he's left in the room on his own, and that really creeped me out as well. I know what you're referring to, and just the content as well. So what does Heather say here? Oh, sorry, I've right-clicked. Oh, go away. I'm right-clicking. Channel activity. I'm trying. Sorry, Heather. I'm trying to highlight your comment and my mouse is playing up. Yeah, it's not doing it. That is weird. Okay, I'm going to read it out. So like 14 to 15 hours after the arrest was made, law enforcement and Thompson and Green, none of them cancelled the schedule clean. Telling. Yeah. And yes, like Canadian Cat Lady said, sorry, I can't highlight comments at the minute. I know I'm on the YouTube bit by mistake. What would Brian's motive have been? So exactly, like I said, could be just this nutter like Daniel Marsh was, but I can't imagine Koberger being more stupid than Daniel Marsh. And then the only other motive is this incel thing, you know, and that brings me on to the Reverend Donna Serafina's video, the last video she put out. I'm going to touch on it tomorrow. Now, I'm really open-minded about this stuff, and I thought it'd be great for us to have a live on mediums. I've had my own experiences with mediums. I used to read tarot myself. Not often for other people. I used it more as a sort of reflection, you know, reflect, sort of, I can never say this word, meditative. I think I did it, meditative. I did one or two for friends and things, and a couple of those were sort of spookily true, but it's all down to interpretation. And any good medium, in my opinion, will say and make people aware that they can get things wrong if you believe in this, if you believe that people can communicate with souls that have, you know, exited this plane of existence and entered onto another. That's the best way I can put it. I think they would certainly say, look, you know, this is what I see, these are messages I'm getting. You know, it's not a guarantee that they're interpreting them correctly. And this last video she put out, I got quite cross about it because, you know, and I like Donna. I warmed to Donna. I think she has, you know, I've still got to watch it. She did a video, didn't she, on the Chad Daybell case and got some facts spot on. And I'm not saying she's wrong in this case. I'm not prepared to completely discard what she has to say. But she's also said some things that haven't made sense. And I did watch some readings she did for the victims' friends in the Idaho 4 case, and I wasn't impressed at all with those. But, you know, there's no denying that she's done a sort of, she had a description and it matches Brian, but it could also match In and Harsh. Do you know what I mean? It's like, now you've got a name. It doesn't mean that the person you see in your visions or tapping into Koberger's brain, I think she called it. I just thought nobody should be confidently naming the killer as Brian Koberger at this stage. You know, you can suspect it. And, you know, Donna, she just used a lot of weak stuff that haven't been proved to back up her case, like Papa Roger and the fact Brian had a crush on a blonde girl in school. She used things like that to back up what she'd been saying. And it left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I did comment on her page. I said, I really hope to God you are sure you've got the right guy here, because you are, with the backup of claiming you have the ability to do this. It's like she's telling the world she's got the proof. And I don't agree with that. And I don't like that. And I don't like the way it's put forward. But I'm still interested. I'm still interested. And I will talk more about it tomorrow if you're going to join me. And we're going to have a good old chat about mediums and personal stories, or what you think of them, how they help the police. Maybe I'll try and find some cases where mediums have perhaps solved cases. I'm sure they've helped some. But then again, I think there's a danger that, what if the police use a medium and the medium says, I see a tall blonde man, he's about 30, blah, blah, blah. Do they then have kind of blinkers on? Do they think, well, we're looking for a blonde guy who's, do you know what I mean? I don't know if it perhaps falls into the right hands and does the right thing. Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting chat. And I thought it'd just be a chilled one, it's Sunday. Tomorrow, Sonny's going to his dad's, and, I can just have a chill out Sunday. I've made it slightly earlier because hopefully you guys get to have a Sunday off. You might be doing far more exciting things. Yeah, just to finish, because I am going to head off now, and we can talk some more. I'd love to know perhaps your thoughts in the comments about things we've discussed. But just a really interesting thing that the Reverend Donna put out, that there's this tall, the things she got were tall, a wave in his hair, there's a red head that is drifting in and out, and then she refers to Coburg Bakery and the fact Coburger's mother, her maiden name was Italian, I think. So those are so she's piecing together what she has seen, and because she was seeing pastries and danishes and this, that, and the other, and then I think either she found it or someone pointed her in the direction that there is a bakery business called Coburg. Okay, so as an experiment, and I'll show you guys tomorrow, I thought, okay, red-haired guy drifting in and out. I'm going to Google Ducour, because Ducour is a French name, and parts of France are on the Mediterranean. So I just Googled Ducour Bakery. Bam. Georgia. There's one there, and it sells danishes and pastries. So this is my point. I think, she might have some very valid things to say, but now she's applying Coburger's name to what she's seen. Maybe she's completely sure. Maybe she has got that talent, but I'm taking a step back. I'm so sorry, I've got a cough again. I'm taking a step back and thinking, okay, tall, older, wavy, kind of a wave in the hair. Could be in and harsh. Redhead drifting in and out. At one point, Donna said she thought Brian had some red in his hair, and I thought that was reaching. But we all know another redhead who has got a French surname, and there's also a bakery called Ducour. So she could be getting all these messages and visions and all this sort of thing. And she might have the right descriptions, but it could be the wrong person. There could be a cop that's 6 foot something with wavy hair and, got a Mediterranean surname, and there's a bakery in his name as well. It's just dangerous, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't think anyone should be in their videos calling Coburger the killer at this stage. at the end of all this, we might all be here one night going, well, bloody hell, wouldn't you know it? My God. But I thought that was going to happen with the car. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I would love that. Fantastic. I'll look forward to that, Nonny. So there we are. Those are my thoughts. Yeah, redheaded Italians too. I'm intrigued by it. I can't deny it. And I'm not saying that what she's saying is rubbish at all. I just think if you do have that gift, you still have to be careful with it, because I will guarantee that she also makes mistakes, and this is a death penalty case, so that's kind of what I think about that. Right, so guys, I am going to love you and leave you now, but I am going to be back tomorrow, and you are going to see a lot more of me. I'm home a lot more now. Sunny, can you believe Sunny's got a day off on Monday because they have an inset day, which is kind of like a teacher meeting. They've just finished their holiday. They've just had their half-term holiday, and they have to have this Monday off to go and do the training. So, yes. But Sunny is back in school after the half term, and obviously I'm home with my brother, and I'm going to make use of the time in between the caring, and let's talk about some different cases too. I had said that I was going to perhaps start another channel where we can talk about other stuff. You know, I was going to call it This and That, and we'll just talk about life and everything. And then I thought, how am I going to cope with 2 channels when I have not sorted my shit out with this one yet? So I thought, you know what, it's a true crime channel, but there's nothing to say I can't do videos on other stuff as well. I'll just put it under a different section. So yeah, I have started college. I am doing a counselling course, which I love. It's 2 hours a week. I've still got my chance to do that. I can still, I thought I was going to have to give that up, but I haven't. I've got some help with the care, as it were. So I can go and do my counselling course, and I thought I might kind of chat about that as well. All sorts of things. And as I said, if you haven't headed over to Just Peachy, she's got a lovely little channel going on. It'd be lovely to support Peachy. She's such a valued member of the community. And I am always happy for anybody to plug their own channels here. We're all friends. We all support each other. I'm not one of these that says, don't mention. Please don't mention. Oh, the amount of chats I've been in, and the mods are like, please don't mention another channel unless it's okay. It's normally people like Gray Hughes and all of those. It's like, oh, how dare you? Take that channel name out of your filthy mouth and never come back. Which, yeah, I didn't ever go back. So, guys, thank you. I know I'm a little bit kind of waffly at the moment, but I did just come on and chat to you. I should perhaps structure things a bit better, and I will work towards it. I will work towards being a better YouTuber. As someone nicely referred to me in a comment section once, that I was the bottom of the barrel of true crime. It's like, okay, well, you know, that's something. At least I'm something at the bottom there. Who cares? But you know what, guys, you're all lovely. You are such a lovely bunch of people, and you are so kind. And the messages I get from you, you know, praying for my family, and all, you're all amazing. So thank you so much for coming back. And yeah, it's great to be back. And you know, when I'm at home and spend a lot of nights kind of, you know, not having a social life, you guys, I want to talk to you all. So it's lovely. Hi, Jeff. Thank you for joining me. Thanks, Jeff. That's kind. Nice to see you. Everyone's welcome. and we all just, it's lovely when we all get on, isn't it? And yeah, on that note, I'm going to be now, if you look under my live section, probably you're not going to get notifications because my algorithms are probably non-existent now because I've just not been regular. That's putting it mildly. But if you, I try and put a community post up now when I'm going to do a live, or if I make a video that isn't a live. So I will post that in the community tab. But if you check under my live section, you will see tomorrow's scheduled live about mediums. It's a spooky Sunday, the return of spooky Sunday. And yeah, I think I've said 9 o'clock so that it's slightly earlier and I'll be less tired. Yeah, I think I think it's going to be fascinating. I've got a couple of stories myself. So yeah, it's a whole other world, isn't it? Mediumship. Yeah, so your local time will be under the scheduled time. It automatically adjusts it to your area. So that's the best way to find out the time. So guys, have a great night. It is actually 20 to 1 in the morning in the UK. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great Saturday night, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Take care. Lots of love to you all. Bye-bye. Good night.